What's up, guys? Welcome back to the story about me adopting my brother. We're on part 8. If you missed the first parts, go to the playlist that should be on the top of my pages to see all the other videos. I tried to organize them for you. I also want to let you know this story is about 10 years old. I did adopt my brother. He is in my care. Everything is good. So I'm not like going through an ongoing battle and this and that. I do still have to deal with his parents. We had the same dad, different moms. The story gets kind of confusing and it's really hard to explain, especially a 10-year-old story. So I'm just doing my best. I just want to kind of explain my story because it's a big one. And I always get asked, like, what's the deal? Why'd you adopt him? And I can't be like, there's no, like, easy way to tell the story. Also, on my last YouTube video, the sound did not align with the video. If that ever happens, please comment below so I know, because sometimes I don't watch the videos all the way through. I'm filming on TikTok. I watch those, but then when I compile them all together, I don't always watch those back the full length, and I gotta be better about doing that. But please drop a comment if I have any technical difficulties so I know. So where I left off in my story is that his mom was still in jail when I did get him out of foster care. My dad had his own apartment, had his own job. He was trying to get his shit together. I was seeing him. Me and my dad never had any problems doing visits. You know, I'm just like, hey, want to hang out? You know, he never was like demanding of my time or like demanding of visits or like whatever. I forget what the original visits were, like once a week or something like that. But my dad just kind of like, go with the flow, see you when I see you. My kid's mom makes things very difficult. Like, she never gets enough visits, which I understand. It is your kid. I do understand the perspective of you have my child, but at the same time, you also did that, like, get your shit together so you can get him back type shit. It's like bad behavior shouldn't be rewarded, and it's like she kept fucking up and she kept demanding more visits. She made things really difficult in really any way she possibly could. She made it to it's hard to explain the story. I'm gonna have to get the text, but like even going to like doctor's visits and stuff when she was out of jail, she like demanded that she had to be there and like all this crazy shit. Like, if my kid is running a fever, I'm not gonna call you and CPS to coordinate a supervised visit to have you meet us at the doctor's. It was just like really fucking, she just wanted, I feel like, to cause problems. I had no problem updating her, including her. I used to make crafts for her all the time. I gave her more visits than she asked for. Like, I really tried. And the way that she shits on me and says I'm a piece of shit and, you know, a devil worshiper, like all the things she said about me is just not true. It'd be too much for me to hunt down exact dates, like when she got out of jail and stuff like that. But like I said, because courts got changed, it went from supervised visits with DSS with her to me supervising them. So we were doing that at first, and I believe it was every weekend. And then she tried to kidnap him from me during a visit. So these visits aren't like you're mandated to get holidays with your kids. They're not set up like co-parenting visits, like you get a Christmas, I get the next Christmas, shit like that. I don't even know how that actually works, but I know it's something like that. If I want to do a visit on a holiday, that's up to me, and that's something that I was trying to do because I want to do the right thing by everyone. Being that we lived in the same town, it was July 4th. At this point, I was doing supervised visits with her. DSS was not involved. My dad had gotten me to be the supervisor with his visits. Everything got transferred to me supervising the visits. We didn't have to like go to a room or anything. So I wanted to do fireworks. My best friend was also coming out with her kids. Fucking love best friends that have kids too. It makes shit so much easier. Well, we're all getting our seats and everything, and she wanted to get up. I think my best friend wanted to get up and get fried dough, and I'm waiting in line, you know, and it's a long line and whatever, and then she just starts taking my kid off, like just slowly. It was like, come look over here, and then just starts walking off with him. And I really couldn't believe it when it happened, but my boyfriend at the time, I just like pointed, like gave him the eyes and pointed, so he followed them. And then I left the line and started too, and by that point he had stopped going after them, and then she was like running, and I had caught up to her, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, honestly? So I pick him up, and I'm trying to walk away from her at that point because I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we're all waiting in line, and she knows the visits with me supervised, so you can't like take the kid off and do whatever you want. I'm sorry, you put yourself in this position. So I pick him up and I have him like this, and she's screaming at me, and there's everyone around me, and I'm like, is everyone seeing this? Are people seeing this? Because I just wanted witnesses. That's why the visits are in a public fucking location. But then she looked at me like she was going to pounce on me, and she went like this, but then she realized I'm holding her fucking kid in my arms, 3 years old. He might have just turned, he just turned 4 because it was July 4th. His birthday was like the week prior. And then she walked away. And I was just like, what the fuck, dude? So I contacted DSS and I let them know what happened. And then she had DSS mandated visits after that. She had DSS supervised visits until this was over. She never got supervised visits back with me. She has them now. Technically, she doesn't have rights, but I can't really explain the story too far ahead. So where I'm from, you have 15 out of the most recent 22 months to get your child back from DSS care. If you do not get your shit together within 15 months, DSS starts going for termination of parental rights. So then it comes down to you can surrender your parental rights or you can have them terminated. If they're terminated, you don't have nothing. You don't get pictures, you don't get visits, you don't get contact with your child at all, which I would have never done anyways. Like, you're lucky he's with good hands, and even if you were to have them terminated, that I would never fucking keep a child from their parents. But what ended up happening was they surrendered their rights, which she says isn't true, but it is because I have the fucking paperwork. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. So you understand, they don't have any rights. The only rights they have is 4 visits a year. I go to them. Or they get 4 more visits if they come to me, and she's never yet come to me at all. My dad, like I said, we've never had a problem with visits. Usually just see my dad around holidays, or like if he ever asked to hang out, which he's only asked to hang out once. Not to put my dad down, but he has his own fucked up shit. But yeah. And all she's concerned about is my father's visits. They're not together anymore, by the way. All she's concerned about is because in the paperwork, it says supervised visits by me in a public location. And one time I had my brother do the visit with my kid. Like, you realize in the paperwork, I'm the one who put it there, right? So it's kind of like whoever I want to supervise the visit. I could even have it unsupervised if I wanted to. You know, I'm the one who put it in there for precaution. Because I'm going to do the fucking visit. I'm going to supervise it. And my dad isn't fucking psycho. All right, so during this time, she had supervised visits with DSS, but a lot of the time she would cancel the visit early, or she would cancel it altogether. That reflects back on you. So when you're trying to get your kid out, if you can't even follow through with the visit, you look dumb. And this is the shit that she was doing. And then can't accept that you don't have your kid, because not only were you doing that, you were doing drugs, which is on fucking paperwork. And she goes around to everyone and their fucking brother and says, I bought him from the judge, and talks all this shit about me. Like, bro, read your own paperwork, which now she says she burnt all the paperwork. Well, I didn't. I did not burn all the paperwork. I also don't want to bash you as a person, but this is what happened, you know? One day my kid's gonna know this is what happened, so I hope at that point you're willing to accept responsibility and have some active, good fucking role in your kid's life. Because that's what we all want. So my video is already almost over, but I don't know when this is from, because like I said, the screenshots are just random. I didn't do the greatest job documenting everything, but this is one where she says she's canceling the visit because her throat's really sore and she doesn't want to pass it on. Could I let the teacher know that she's not having the visit? I have to reschedule so they can let whoever is doing the visit today know that I'm sick. This is shit that happen all the time. And I'll keep going on with texts, documentation, going forward. I'm just trying to get out my story the best way I can. Hey guys, welcome back to the story about me adopting my brother, part 9. If you haven't seen the previous parts, I suggest you go to the playlist at the top of my pages to see all the videos. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When she did get out of jail, my dad did move her back in, and that's where I was doing the visits and or having them at my house. A lot of the time, she would just come over to my house. Like I said, my dad's very like, the visit happens when it happens. And at first, this is before she tried to kidnap him, the visits were going great. They were very interactive. I would set up games for them to play. I'd have books, I'd have board games, I'd have, you know, a little kid pool and bubbles and like whatever I could think of. I just was trying to make the visits as best as possible. Which, going back to that invisible backpack thing I mentioned a couple videos ago, the people that told me that story, They also said, like, don't do things like that. Like, don't show up and, like, basically be the other person, because when they don't show up in that way, like, it's gonna hurt the kid. You know, I used to, like, gift him things for them and do different things like that, but, like, the truth will always come out, and then it's gonna hurt worse when they think they show up in this way that they don't actually show up. During temporary custody, you have to have DSS inspections of your house like once a month, and it really gave me like really bad anxiety to it fucking freaked me out, okay? Like, I was wiping the dust off the baseboard heaters, and my boyfriend at the time would be like, you don't have to have all the dishes clean. I'm like, yeah, I do, because you look dumb if you know when they're coming and you have dirty dishes. Like, I would fucking clean every little bit of dust everywheres. I really try to make my home, like, I didn't want to lose this kid, and I know that it really did not matter if I had dirty dishes or if there was dust on the baseboard heater, but it just made my anxiety really, really terrible, which comes out with a different story later on down the road. So just remember, it really gave me bad anxiety. Not just that, she was literally shit talking me, saying I'm a drunk like my daddy, and I'm a devil worshiper and a wrist cutter and all this and that. So, like, there was already a fucking red dot on me. So it's just like, she was able to manipulate some of these caseworkers. When we got transferred to this other county, we went through so many caseworkers because they didn't have the caseworker that does temporary custody things. We only had this person, and this person moved on to this, and this person went here, and this person went here. It was so cluster fucked. And she really was able to manipulate some of these people. And then eventually, after months of them seeing, they're like, oh, I get it. I'm like, yeah, guys, come on now. So not only do they come in your home once a month, if you're the one doing the temporary custody, you have to go to these plans every 6 months, which are called the Family Assessment and Service Plans. This is how you get your kid back. It's literally right fucking here what you gotta do. And if you don't do that, you lose your kid. It's really that goddamn simple. And I don't understand any person that can't abide by this and get your kid back. I know that people struggle with mental illness and substance abuse and this and that, but there's nothing that I personally, and I suffer with my own mental illness, that I would not do to get my kid back. So I just don't understand how you're putting the blame on me when you couldn't follow this fucking plan. And you had resources. You had help. I don't know. I believe this is the first service plan that was written because it was created November 30th, 2015. I got him in January, and then this was status change October 5th, 2016. So I think it was just like the same service plan, and they just updated as they went. I like I said, the story is 10 years old, so it's really hard to tell the story from that long ago, but I just want to kind of read it a little bit. So mind you, during most of this, they were together, so this is them being together. So they have a history of being homeless, and that my father was currently homeless. Oh, that's another fun fucking story. So during this, she had moved in with my dad. They ended up doing drugs and losing the apartment. He stopped going to work, So they got a different apartment. My dad ended up going into jail. Can't remember why at the moment. And she had moved all his things, which were my grandma's belongings, because this started out them living with my grandma, my aunt taking my grandmother away from the home, my aunt kicking them out of the home, me having to pay for 2 storage units for a long time, which was like $300 a month. Nobody's ever paid me back, to keep my grandmother's things with the family, because when I was a kid, my parents sold our house with everything in it, so I'm very sentimental, and I didn't want to lose anything ever again. So then when he got the apartment, I had paid to get all this stuff to his apartment, so all that stuff was in his apartment that she moved into. Well, he goes to jail, they get evicted, so that she gets an apartment while he's in jail, moves all my grandmother's belongings into her house, and then when my dad gets out of jail, she says, fuck you, and this is all my stuff. And then she told us time and time again, show your receipts, you're not getting shit. So that's where all my grandmother's belongings are right now. And she left my dad high and dry, and then says he's the one that doesn't love her. Okay. Outcome: they will have to have and maintain safe and stable housing and provide their child with age-appropriate supervision. Then it says she's had adequate housing for roughly 10 months, and she has safe and adequate housing. because she left my daddy homeless. And this just goes on and on. My dad will utilize available housing programs. He'll search for housing. He will make sure that the home environment he chooses will be safe for the child. They will maintain housing by making sure that their rent gets paid on time. My dad will allow caseworkers to do a home safety check. They will engage with caseworker contacts with DSS, caseworker for casework counseling. Will sign releases as requested by DSS. My dad will complete parenting classes, and Jay will utilize skills learned in parenting classes when she visits with her son. The only class she took was parenting classes. The only class she completed was parenting classes, but she had a list of shit she had to do, and that is the only thing she did do, and she thought that was good enough. Then it says level of outcome achieved. Some changes have occurred. And then comments. Jay has obtained safe and stable housing, and my dad is currently homeless and wishes to remain that way, which is a sick comment to write because he never wished to be homeless. This is the second page, which was created September 2015, and it status changed May 2016. It says the problem, my dad was not taking advantage of his visits with our kid. And then it says outcome, my dad will have to actively participate in visits by engaging with him in an age-appropriate manner. And then strengths, my dad has been visiting with him. Family activities, my dad will visit with him as scheduled. He will follow the visitation agreement. And then it says DSS will supervise visits, provide transportation, they'll monitor, they'll meet with him. And then it says level of outcome, minimal or no change. My father is engaging in visits, however, did not show up to a visit intoxicated. This visit was ended due to my dad's state of intoxication. But mind you, this was changed in 2016. We ended up having our last court hearing December 2016. So just going down, it just, there was no change. Like, they couldn't get their shit together. Therefore, they did lose their child. And again, I didn't do any of this. So then it goes on to say, problem/concern. It says my dad has admitted to struggling with alcohol addiction that was untreated until it was court ordered, that he recently admitted to drinking alcohol, and then it says he recently unsuccessfully was discharged from ARS due to not attending, and that he tested positive for Coca-Cola. And then it says Jay has a history of drug abuse that negatively impacts her ability to care for her child. And then it says my dad has the same thing. And then it says that my dad will regularly attend appointments with ARS until he successfully completes the program and will not drink alcohol or use drugs. And then it says my dad will take prescription medication as prescribed by his doctor, and Jay will continue to attend ARS and will attend appointments until successfully being discharged from the program. Jay will not use drugs and take prescription drugs only as prescribed by her doctor for the length of time her doctor prescribes medication for. So basically just goes on and on about they need to comply with everything they've laid out, go to all the classes they've asked. I said, he admitted to being intoxicated, and Jay recently tested positive for Coca-Cola. I received a 60-day suspended judgment. I think she was on probation because I remember she had to keep getting drug tested and kept failing. And then she'd be like, she was like using other people's urine and stuff, which is another paperwork, which I'll get to eventually. This is totally out of order. I just happened to find this first, and I thought it was more in order, and it's really hard to explain everything out of order 10 years ago, but best I can do is just speak. Guys, we're on part 10 of the story about me adopting my brother. It's a big fucking clusterfuck of a story. If you've missed the previous parts, go to the top of my playlist. I have ones that say sister mom or adopting my brother, so you can follow the story. I'm picking up where we left off, which is on this family assessment and service plan. That's kind of how you get your kid back if you lose them to foster care. So this specific part in this paperwork was created September 2015, and it was updated December 2015. It said that Jay and my dad have domestic violence in their relationship and have engaged in physical and verbal altercations in the presence of said child. It said that they need to learn how to communicate without becoming physically or verbally aggressive. In the previous clip, when I said she only went to parenting classes, what I meant is she only completed parenting classes. All the other classes she attempted to go to, some of them, most of them, but she never followed through. And you'll see as it goes on how deep the story is with all of that. It says here, Jay has started to attend DV counseling through her mental health counselor as well with VIP, and that my dad had not started DV counseling yet. And then it says they need to successfully complete deviant anger management counseling. They need to follow all recommendations said by these providers. They will meet with the DSS worker as scheduled, and they will sign release forms, etc. All right, here we go. Because I don't want to keep repeating the same things over and over again. They just had to complete those courses. Said Jay is still attending mental health counseling, but is not currently taking her medication due to being pregnant. Plot twist! All right, so going back, they were living together in that apartment. My dad goes to jail. She gets an apartment while he's in jail. When he gets out of jail, she says, fuck you, right? She was having him sleep with her a lot of these nights. She also started seeing this guy. She was working under the table at this pizzeria. So she didn't have to pay me child support. Shout out. She ends up seeing that guy. She's still seeing my dad. And I would try and get my dad to give me my grandma's stuff so it would still stay in the family. We were trading side tables. I had to replace every piece of furniture, anything behind her back, because I couldn't take my grandmother's side table without having her have a side table, etc. And there was a time I saw my dad, and I forget what it was, something about him carrying a TV. I don't remember like I said, this story's 10 years old, so it's hard to remember, but I met up with my dad outside her apartment, and he had told me that they had made love the night before. Okay? Well, homeboy, the boyfriend she was seeing, I don't know where he was, but she got pregnant, right? And I think it's my dad's baby. She claims it's not. She claims it's other boyfriend's baby dad. I don't think so. Considering I saw my dad that same week who got pregnant, and he said he had slept with you that week. I think it's my dad's baby. And I don't really know what to do about that situation. I guess when the kid's old enough, her daughter and my kid, brother, sister, look identical. I believe the baby was born on drugs. I don't have any supporting documents with that, but I know DSS was involved in that situation. I was already removed from the situation, so I don't have details on that. I only have the details I have because I was involved in this custody situation, you know what I mean? She had her daughter like 2 months after she lost parental rights of her son that I care for now. But just wanted to put it out there. Even though she was pregnant, it still was recommended that she take Zoloft, but Jay is refusing to do so. Jay had not been seen for medication management since January 2016 until September 2016. It was not taking her medication as prescribed. And here it lists off the courses they needed to do, which was parenting training, domestic violence services, community advocacy, drug counseling treatment, case management services, community advocacy, mental health services. There's just a bunch of them, and the only one that was ever completed was parenting classes, which I explained. That's the only one she ever fucking completed. So during all this, like I said, I had gotten a lawyer because I didn't know what I was doing. I was not trying to adopt my brother through all this. I was just taking care of my brother temporarily until they got their shit together. At some point, I noticed they weren't going to get their shit together, so I was going to proceed with the adoption because if it wasn't me, it was somebody else. Well, I was really concerned about payments because lawyers cost a lot of money. So up front, I had paid my lawyer initially like a $250 payment, and then I think another $250 payment, and then he said like he would bill me for the rest. And then I never got an invoice, and I was like, oh my god, like this is gonna be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just for a guy to shake his head in the courtroom, because it's not like a case against me. I'm just there. I'm like, I'll take care of the kid. You know, like you're not even doing anything, basically. But I was freaking the fuck out because I did not have the income for that. I only was starting to get some sort of assistance because I went to DSS to try and get assistance. I didn't realize when you sign up for assistance such as Medicaid or food stamps or WIC or anything like that, they do file child support against the legal parents at that time. And at the time they were still the legal parents. So they got taken to court for child support. Jay lied the whole time, said she didn't have jobs. She ended up getting mandated to pay $25 a month, which she could still not pay. If you don't pay your child support, you go to jail. I'm sure on many occasions she was close to that. I knew there was just a bunch of times she couldn't pay it. My dad never showed up to court, so he got mandated to pay the full amount, which is like $300 a month. But it wasn't like being given to me. It was paying back the temporary assistance that I was given, which is something they gave me because I was in a fucking crisis, man. And during all this, WIC helped me pay for my child's daycare / Head Start. He was in like the best fucking programs. I got him in speech therapy because he couldn't talk. He was in special education for a little bit because he was just a little bit behind. The daycare was great. He really excelled. He did a 180 in the time that he was with me. At the time that we were having all the home studies, me and my boyfriend only had a 1-bedroom apartment. Luckily, my brother was my blood because they said if he wasn't my blood, he wouldn't have been suitable to live with me because I made his bedroom the living room because I didn't have an extra bedroom for him. Of course, I would have swapped out my bedroom to give him a bedroom if that's what came down to it. But so me and my boyfriend at the time ended up getting a 2-bedroom apartment. I really liked the apartment, just the landlord was a little fucking cray-cray, but I would have done anything in my power to do anything I possibly could have for this kid. And I'm just going to end this off on more positive videos to share with you guys, and then I'll continue the circus in part 10. I also originally mentioned my lawyer and how I thought it was going to be thousands of dollars that I wouldn't have been able to pay back, but I met up with my lawyer and I was like, what's the payment going to be? Because like I'm kind of freaking out. And he's like, nothing. I said, what do you mean? He's like, I'm doing this pro bono. I get one case a year and I'm taking your case. God sent, dude.
Cheese, how you doing?
How you doing? 7 Street?
Look at Daddy. Say hi.
Cheese.
Cheese. What are you eating, oranges?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
I heard Knuckles.
Did you cry?
Yeah. I'll be alright, okay?
How'd you cry?
And ground.
Can you show me how you cried?
I cried.
Can you show me how you cried?
I cried.
What'd you sound like?
Like this. Like that.
Did it hurt?
Yes. That hurts me.
Are you all better?
Yes. I feel better.
Gotta watch where you're going.
So watch you going.